Taeho Kim wiped sweat from his forehead as he fixed the broken cooling pipe in the small maintenance craft. The tiny ship floated just 50 meters from the Earth science vessel horizon. Through his viewport, he could see the massive white ship against the black of space. Its blue engines glowed softly. Engineering. How much longer on that repair? Captain Jiwon Park's voice came through his headset. Almost done, Captain. 10 more minutes, Taeho replied, tightening a bolt with his wrench. At 25, Taeho was the youngest engineer on the horizon. Many crew members thought he was too young for deep space missions, but Captain Park had seen something in him that others missed. She had personally asked for him on this mission to explore new star systems. Taeho pushed himself back from the pipe and checked his work. The seal looked good. He reached for his scanner to test the pressure. All ships, this is Captain Park. We have an unknown signal approaching at high speed. Yellow alert. Taeho returned to the ship immediately. Taeho's heart jumped. He quickly packed his tools and moved to the pilot's seat. His hands flew over the controls, preparing to return to the horizon. The maintenance craft's engines hummed to life. On his screen, Taeho could see a red dot moving fast toward their location. Then another appeared, and another. Captain, I'm seeing multiple contacts, he reported, his mouth going dry. We see them too. They just appeared out of nowhere. Return now, engine. The transmission cut off as a bright flash filled Taeho's viewport. He covered his eyes, crying out in shock. When he looked again, his blood turned cold. 3 massive black ships had appeared near the horizon. They were unlike anything he had seen before. Their hulls were rough and angular, like black crystals floating in space. Green energy beams shot from their sides, slicing into the horizon. Captain Park! Taeho shouted into his comm. All he heard was static and distant screams. The horizon's shields flared blue, trying to block the attack, but the green beams cut through them like they weren't there. Taeho watched in horror as the science vessel's port side exploded, sending debris in all directions. He frantically worked the maintenance craft's controls, trying to move toward the horizon. Maybe he could help. Maybe he could save someone. Massive piece of debris from the horizon spun toward him. Taeho tried to steer away, but it was too late. The chunk of metal slammed into his small craft, sending it spinning wildly. Warning alarms blared as Taeho was thrown from his seat. His head hit the wall hard. Through blurry vision, he saw the control panel sparking. The craft's engines died, and the lights went out. Only the emergency red lights remained. Dazed, Taeho pulled himself back to the viewport. What he saw made him feel sick. The horizon was breaking apart. The beautiful ship was now just pieces of twisted metal. Green tractor beams from the alien ships were pulling in some of the larger sections. And escape pods. They were capturing the escape pods. No, he whispered, pressing his hand against the cold glass. Through the comm, he could hear bits of panicked transmissions from the crew. They're pulling us in. Can't break free. God help us. Taeho saw his friend Hana Choi's face appear briefly on a damaged screen. The science officer was trying to send a message, but it cut out before he could hear her words. The largest alien ship moved closer to the debris field. Its black hull seemed to swallow all light around it. Taeho held his breath as its sensors swept the area. His craft systems were damaged. Would they detect him? The scan passed over his location. For a moment, nothing happened. Then he realized the truth. His craft looked like just another piece of debris. The power systems were offline. To the aliens, he was just floating junk. The massive alien ship opened what looked like cargo doors. It began to pull in the wreckage with powerful tractor beams, probably to search for useful technology. Taeho felt his craft shudder as the invisible beam caught it. He was being pulled toward the alien ship along with the other debris. Fear gripped him as he realized what was happening. He was being taken aboard the enemy vessel. Think, Taeho, think. He muttered to himself. He tried the emergency beacon, but it was damaged. He checked his engineer's toolkit. It still had his basic tools and his portable AI assistant device, though the screen was cracked. As his craft was pulled inside the alien ship, Taeho made a quick decision. He grabbed his toolkit, a small emergency oxygen mask, and the maintenance craft's first aid kit. He slipped into the craft's tiny airlock just as his vessel passed through the alien ship's atmospheric barrier. Through the airlock's small window, he watched as his craft was dropped roughly onto the floor of a massive hangar bay. All around him lay pieces of the horizon. Some were still smoking from the attack. Taeho's heart ached at the sight. The ship had been his home for 2 years. Now it was just scraps. And the crew, his friends, what had happened to them? He didn't have time to mourn. He could hear heavy footsteps and strange clicking sounds approaching his craft. The aliens were coming to check the debris. Quietly, Taeho opened the outer airlock door and slipped out. The alien atmosphere burned his eyes and throat, but he could breathe it. He quickly moved behind a large piece of the horizon's hull and, hit for the first time, he saw the aliens clearly. They were tall, at least 7 feet, with dark gray skin that looked almost metallic. They had 4 arms and moved with frightening speed. Their heads had no visible eyes, just slits where eyes should be. They communicated with clicks and low rumbles. 3 of them approached his maintenance craft. One ripped open the main door with incredible strength. They searched inside, clicking to each other when they found it empty. Taeho stayed perfectly still. His heart pounded so loudly he was sure they would hear it. But the aliens soon moved on to other pieces of debris, seemingly uninterested in the small craft. Once they moved away, Taeho looked around the vast hangar. Exits lined the walls, but they were heavily guarded. Above him, catwalks crossed the ceiling where more aliens moved about. There seemed to be no way out. Then he spotted a small opening in the floor, some kind of maintenance access. It was only a few meters away, partially hidden by debris. Taking a deep breath, Taeho waited until the aliens were focused elsewhere. Then he moved quickly from his hiding spot to the floor opening. With shaking hands, he lifted the cover and looked down. A dark tunnel led somewhere below the hangar. Without hesitation, Taeho slipped inside and pulled the cover back over him. He climbed down the ladder into darkness, his mind racing. He was alive. He was on an enemy ship. Everyone he knew might be dead or captured. He wasn't meant to survive the attack, but he had. And as he reached the bottom of the ladder and looked down the dark corridor, Taeho made a promise to himself. He would stay alive. He would find any other survivors. And somehow, he would make these aliens pay for what they had done to the Horizon and its crew. Taeho Kim was just an engineer, not a soldier. But he was also human. And humans didn't give up easily. The maintenance tunnel was dark and narrow. Taeho moved slowly, using the dim light from his damaged engineering tool to see ahead. The air was hot and smelled strange, like metal and something sweet that burned his nose. He had been crawling through these tunnels for what felt like hours. His legs ached and his throat was dry, but he kept going. He had to find out what happened to the other crew members of the Horizon. The tunnel ended at a small vent. Taeho peered through the slats. He saw a wide hallway with curved walls that glowed with a dull green light. No aliens were in sight. Carefully, he pushed open the vent and climbed out. He pressed himself against the wall, listening for any sound. He heard distant clicking noises, the aliens talking to each other. "I need to find the crew," he whispered to himself. But how? The alien ship was huge, and he didn't know where anything was. Taeho looked down at his engineering tool. Though damaged, its scanner still worked. He adjusted it to search for human life signs. The screen flickered, then showed small dots about 3 levels below him. "Found you," he said. He moved down the hallway, ducking into shadows whenever he heard noises. The ship's design was strange. The walls seemed almost alive with patterns that shifted slowly. Everything was built for beings much taller than humans. Taeho found what looked like an elevator shaft. When no aliens were around, he pried open the doors with his tools. Inside was a platform that moved up and down. He waited until it was empty, then jumped onto it. The platform began to move down without him touching anything. Taeho hid behind a ridge in the wall just as 2 aliens stepped onto the platform. They stood close to him, not noticing the human hiding in the shadows. He, held his breath. The aliens were even more frightening up close. Their gray skin had patterns like circuits. Their forearms ended in hands with 3 long fingers. They wore no clothes, but had pieces of metal attached to their bodies. The platform stopped, and the aliens stepped off. Taiho stayed hidden as the platform continued down. When it reached the level where his scanner had detected humans, he carefully got off. This level was different. The walls were darker and there were many small rooms behind clear doors. Taiho realized with horror that they were cells. Prison cells. Moving from shadow to shadow, he made his way down the row of cells. Most were empty. Then he saw a human face. It was Sunho Kang, one of the Horizon's officers. He was sitting on the floor of his cell, his uniform torn and dirty. His face was bruised. Taiho waited until no aliens were nearby, then moved to the cell door. "Sunho," he whispered. Sunho's head snapped up. His eyes went wide. "Taiho? Is that really you? How are you not captured?" "I was outside the ship when it was attacked. They didn't find me." Taiho looked at the cell door. "I'm going to get you out." Sunho shook his head. "No, you can't. These doors have alarms. If you open one, they'll know immediately." He moved closer to the door. "Listen to me. You need to find a way to send a message to Earth. Tell them what happened." "What did happen?" Taiho asked. "Why did they attack us?" Sunho's face darkened. "They've been hunting our ships for months. They want our FTL drive technology. They have faster than light travel too, but ours is better, more efficient." He looked over his shoulder nervously. "But that's not all. They're planning to attack the New Eden colony. Thousands of people, Taiho." Taiho felt sick. New Eden was one of Earth's newest colonies, with mostly families and farmers. "When?" "Soon. Days, maybe." Sunho pressed his hand against the clear door. "You have to warn them." "What about you? The other crew?" Sunho's eyes filled with pain. "Many died in the attack. The rest?" He couldn't finish. A sound came from down the hallway. Footsteps and clicking. "Go!" Sunho hissed. "Hide! They're coming back." Taiho ducked into a small space between cells, just as 2 aliens turned the corner. They walked to Sunho's cell. One pressed a pattern on the wall and the door slid open. Sunho backed away, but the aliens grabbed him with their multiple arms and dragged him out. Taiho wanted to help, but he knew he couldn't fight them. He would only get captured too. He watched helplessly as they took Sunho away. Once they were gone, he continued down the row of cells. He found 3 more crew members, including Sujin Yoon, the communications specialist. Sujin was in bad shape. She lay on the floor of her cell, barely moving. When Taiho whispered her name, she looked up with unfocused eyes. "Taiho." Her voice was weak. "You're alive." "Yes. I'm going to find a way to help you all." She shook her head slightly. "Too late for me." She coughed, and Taiho saw blood on her lips. They took something from me. Inside me." Anger burned in Taiho's chest. "I'll make them pay," he promised. Sujin's eyes cleared for a moment. "The ship, their power system, it's complex but unstable. I heard them talking. They don't understand how our systems work better. The main power core," she coughed again. "Deck 7, Section 12. It's their weakness. Too much energy, not enough control." Her eyes closed. Taiho called to her softly, but she didn't respond. She was still breathing, but barely. He heard more aliens approaching. Quickly, he moved back to the shaft and hid as a larger group passed by. Among them was an alien different from the others. It wore metal pieces that gleamed brightly, and the others seemed to defer to it. Taiho guessed this must be a commander or leader. He followed carefully as they entered a large room. Inside, Taiho saw something that made his blood run cold. It was a laboratory of some kind. And on tables around the room were parts of human bodies. The aliens were dissecting the crew of the Horizon, studying them like specimens. Taeho had to clamp his hand over his mouth to stop from crying out. Among the bodies he recognized Captain Park. Her chest had been cut open, exposing her organs. Her eyes were open, staring at nothing. The alien leader made clicking sounds, pointing at different body parts. The others responded, taking notes. On strange devices, Taeho backed away, his whole body shaking. He couldn't save them. They were already gone. But he could stop these aliens from killing more humans. He could try to prevent the attack on New Eden. He slipped back into the maintenance tunnels and crawled until he was far from the laboratory. Then he let himself cry. For his friends, for his captain, for all the good people who had died. When he had no more tears, Taeho wiped his face and looked at his scanner. Deck 7, Section 12, the power core. Sujin had said it was their weakness. Taeho was just one human against a ship full of aliens. He had no weapons, no backup, and no way to contact Earth. But he had his mind, his tools, and something the aliens clearly didn't expect from humans. Determination. He wasn't meant to survive the attack on the Horizon, but he had. And now, as he set his scanner to find a path to the power core, Taeho made a new promise. These aliens would learn that killing humans came with a price, one they couldn't afford to pay. Taeho sat in a small maintenance tunnel he had claimed as his safe spot. It was 3 days since the attack on the Horizon. 3 days of hiding, watching, and learning. He had made a small nest using fabric scraps he had found. His water came from condensation pipes, and he had stolen food from what seemed to be the aliens' storage area. He looked at his damaged engineering tool. The main screen was cracked, but it still worked. He pressed a hidden button on its side. "Minseo, activate," he whispered. The screen flickered, then glowed blue. A small female voice came from the device. "Engineering Assistant Minseo is active." "Hello, Engineer Kim." Minseo was the AI interface in all Earth Alliance engineering tools. Taeho had never been so happy to hear her voice. "Minseo, I need your help. We are on an alien ship. The Horizon was destroyed. I need to find a way to stop these aliens." The AI was silent for a moment. "I detect no Earth Alliance networks, situation analysis, emergency conditions. I will operate on low power mode and assist you, Engineer Kim." Taeho smiled for the first time in days. He wasn't completely alone anymore. "Minseo, I need to understand the alien language. Can you record and analyze it?" "Yes. Please expose this unit to alien communications." For the next few hours, Taeho carefully moved through the ship's maintenance tunnels, holding his tool near vents where aliens were talking. He returned to his hiding spot and Minseo processed the recordings. "Analysis complete," Minseo said. "I have identified basic language patterns. I can provide approximate translations of simple communications." "Good," Taeho said. "Now I need to find Deck 7, Section 12, their power core." He checked his makeshift map of the ship. He had been carefully marking the layout as he explored. The power core was still 2 decks below him in a heavily guarded area. As he prepared to leave his hiding spot, Taeho heard a noise in the tunnel behind him. He froze, reaching for a metal pipe he had been using as a weapon. "Who's there?" he whispered. A human face appeared in the dim light. It was a man Taeho recognized, Jun-Ho Kim, one of the engineers from another shift on the Horizon. "Taeho, is that really you?" Jun-Ho's voice was rough. He looked thin and his clothes were torn. Taeho lowered his pipe. "Jun-Ho, you're alive." The 2 men embraced briefly. Taeho could feel Jun-Ho's ribs through his shirt. "How did you survive?" Taeho asked. Jun-Ho sat down heavily. "I was in waste processing when the attack happened. Everything went crazy. I hid in one of the disposal pods. The aliens brought it aboard with the other debris." He looked at Taeho with hollow eyes. "I've been hiding in the lowest parts of the ship, in the waste systems. It's horrible down there, but they never go there." Taeho gave Jun-Ho some of his water and food. As Jun-Ho ate, Taeho explained what he had learned about the aliens wanting Earth's FTL technology. about their plans to attack New Eden, about the power core weakness. We need to stop them, Taeho said. But I can't get to the power core alone. It's too heavily guarded. Junho nodded slowly. I can help. I can create diversions. Get their attention away from you. Taeho showed Junho his tool. This is Minseo. She's helping me understand the aliens. Hello, Engineer Kim, Minseo said to Junho. Junho smiled weakly. Hello, Minseo. It's good to hear a friendly voice. Taeho pointed to his map. We need to get to this data terminal first. If I can connect Minseo to their systems, we might learn more about their plans and the ship's layout. They waited until the ship's lighting dimmed, which they had learned was the aliens' rest period. Then they moved through the maintenance tunnels to a small room with control panels. Keep watch, Taeho whispered to Junho. He opened a panel and connected his tool to the alien system. Minseo's screen flashed with strange symbols. Accessing alien data network, Minseo said. Caution, security protocols detected. Taeho bit his lip. Can you bypass them? Analyzing? Yes. Their security is complex but follows predictable patterns. As Minseo worked, Taeho kept glancing at the door. Junho stood tense, listening for any sounds. Download complete, Minseo finally said. I have ship schematics and partial fleet data. Fleet data? Taeho asked. Yes, this vessel is the command ship of a fleet of 7 vessels. They will reach New Eden Colony in approximately 58 hours. Taeho felt cold. Less than 3 days until the attack. We need to move fast, he said to Junho. Let's get back to our hiding spot and look at the data. They were halfway back when they heard clicking sounds. Aliens were coming their way. Quick, in here, Junho whispered, pointing to a small opening. They squeezed inside just as 3 aliens walked past. Through a crack, Taeho could see them clearly. Minseo quietly translated their clicks and sounds. Fleet Commander Rock demands more progress. The human brain contains unexpected complexity. Biological samples show resistance to our scanning methods. When the aliens were gone, Taeho and Junho returned to their hiding spot. They studied the data Minseo had stolen. Look at this, Taeho said, pointing to the power core design. Sujin was right. Their power system is unstable. They use a form of energy that's similar to our FTL drives, but they can't control it as well. Junho studied the design. Yes, I see it. The containment field is flawed. If you create a power surge in these 3 junctions at the same time, he looked up at Taeho. It would start a chain reaction. The whole ship would explode. Taeho nodded. But we need to reach those junctions. They're in different parts of the power section. They planned carefully. Junho would create a distraction in a far part of the ship. While the aliens were dealing with that, Taeho would slip into the power section and set up the overload. The next day, they put their plan into action. Junho took some explosive material they had found in a maintenance kit and headed to the ship's storage area. Be careful, Taeho said. Meet me back here when it's done. Junho gripped Taeho's shoulder. If I don't make it back, finish the job. For all of them. His eyes were hard. Make these monsters pay. Junho disappeared into the tunnels. Taeho waited anxiously, watching the time on Minseo's display. 20 minutes later, alarms blared throughout the ship. Junho had set off his explosion. Now, Minseo, Taeho said, guide me to the power section. Following Minseo's directions, Taeho moved quickly through the now empty corridors. The aliens were rushing to the site of the explosion. He reached the entrance to the power section and used Minseo to bypass the lock. Inside, the air hummed with energy. A massive blue core pulsed in the center of the room, sending power through thick cables to all parts of the ship. The light was almost too bright to look at. Power core containment field operating at 87% efficiency, Minseo reported. Below Earth Alliance safety standards. Taeho moved to the first junction point. He connected Minseo to it and began reprogramming the power flow. Suddenly, a loud explosion rocked the ship, much bigger than what Junho had planned. What was that? Taeho asked. Minseo's screen showed a ship diagram. Explosion detected in Section 14B. That is not the location of Engineer Junho's planned distraction. Taeho felt sick. Something had gone wrong. Junho was supposed to set a small explosion and run. This was too big. He wanted to go find his friend, but he knew he had to finish the mission. Junho would want him to continue. With hands that shook slightly, Taeho finished programming the first junction. He moved to the second, then the third. Each one was set to create a power surge when he sent the activation signal. Junction programming complete, Mincio reported. Ready for activation. Taeho took a deep breath. Not yet. First, we need to find a way off this ship. Taeho moved quickly through the dim corridors of the alien ship. The alarm still blared, but now it had a different sound. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Mincio, what's happening? He whispered to his engineering tool. The AI's voice was calm. Ship systems indicate security alert in sectors 12 through 16. Multiple unauthorized access points detected. The aliens are conducting a ship-wide search. Taeho's heart sank. They were looking for him and Junho. The diversion had worked too well. Now the whole ship was on alert. He needed to find Junho and a way off the ship. The hangar bay where he had first arrived seemed like the best option. There might be small ships there they could use to escape. As Taeho turned a corner, he came face to face with an alien. Both froze in surprise. The alien was smaller than the others Taeho had seen. It wore simple metal pieces, not the complex decorations of the warriors. The alien made a startled clicking sound but didn't immediately call for help. It stared at Taeho with its strange slit-like eyes. Taeho raised his hands slowly, showing he had no weapons. He waited for the alien to attack or call guards. Instead, the alien made a series of quiet clicks. Mincio translated, "You are the missing human, the one not captured." "Yes," Taeho replied, knowing Mincio would translate his words. "I am." The alien's head tilted to one side. "Why do you not fight? You could attack me." Taeho swallowed hard. "I'm an engineer, not a warrior. I fix things. I build things." The alien seemed to consider this. "I am Mav. I fix things also." Taeho couldn't believe it. He was having a conversation with one of them. "You're an engineer too?" Mav made a sound that Mincio couldn't translate. "Technical caste, lower than warriors. We maintain the ship." Taeho slowly lowered his hands. "I need to find my friend Junho. He was in Section 14B. Mav's body language changed. Even though his face was hard to read, Taeho could tell the news wasn't good. The human in 14B caused great damage. He damaged the secondary power node. Many warriors went there. Mav paused. He was captured, then executed. Pain shot through Taeho's chest. Junho was dead. He had sacrificed himself for the mission. "The commander is angry," Mav continued. "He has ordered all humans to be processed immediately. No more. Study." "Processed?" Taeho asked, though he feared he knew the answer. "Dissected. For biological data." Anger replaced Taeho's grief. "Your commanders are killing innocent people. The Horizon was a science vessel. We weren't a threat to you." Mav's body shifted uncomfortably. "Voidborn commanders say humans are physically weak but technically advanced. Your FTL drives are superior. This makes you dangerous." Taeho looked at the alien engineer more carefully. "Your power systems are unstable, dangerous. Human engineers would never design cores with such poor containment." Mav moved closer, speaking more quietly. "Many technical castes know this. We try to improve, but warrior caste does not listen. They say victory comes through strength, not caution." An alarm sounded nearby. Mav looked down the corridor. "You must hide. Commander Ket has ordered section-by-section search. They will find you soon." "I need to get to the hangar bay," Taeho said. Mav made a decisive sound. "Follow. I know safe path." Taeho hesitated. Could he trust this alien? But what choice did he have? He followed Mav through a series of narrow maintenance tunnels similar to the ones he had been using. They avoided the main corridors where warriors searched for intruders. As they moved, Taeho asked questions about the ship. Mav explained more about the Voidborn. They were a warrior race that had conquered many worlds. The warrior caste ruled, while the technical and worker castes served. They saw humans as a threat to their dominance because of Earth's advanced technology. Your small colony has rich resources, Mav explained. Commander Rak wants those resources and to destroy human settlement there, show human weakness. And you? Taeho asked. What do you want? Mav was silent for a moment. Technical caste wants knowledge. Your FTL drives are elegant. Your power system's efficient. We could learn much. They reached a junction where 4 tunnels met. Mav pointed to the right tunnel. This leads to small maintenance bay near main hangar. You can... A harsh clicking sound interrupted him. Both Taeho and Mav turned to see 2 warrior aliens at the other end of the tunnel. They raised their weapons. Run! Mav pushed Taeho toward the right tunnel. I will delay. Taeho hesitated, but Mav pushed him again. Go! As Taeho ran down the tunnel. He heard Mav speaking to the warriors in rapid clicks. Then came the sound of energy weapons firing, a scream that needed no translation. Mav had sacrificed himself, just as Junho had. Taeho reached the small maintenance bay. Through a viewport he could see the main hangar where several small alien shuttles were docked. If he could reach one... Attention all castes. A voice boomed through the ship, translated by Minseo. Commander Ket has ordered complete lockdown. The human saboteur has been detected in Section 23. All warriors report for search duty. Technical caste member Mav has been executed for treason. Any who aid the human will meet the same fate. They knew where he was. Taeho looked around desperately. There was no way he could reach the shuttles now. Then he had an idea. Minseo, can you access the ship's communication system? Yes, Engineer Kim. What do you require? Send a false alert. Tell them I've been spotted in the farthest section from here. Minseo's screen flashed as she worked. Alert sent. Security. Forces are responding to Section 42. Taeho moved to the door that led to the main hangar. Using Minseo to bypass the lock, he slipped inside and hid behind a large cargo container. The hangar was less crowded now, with most warriors responding to the false alert. But there were still guards at each shuttle. Taeho studied the situation. He couldn't fight his way past them. Minseo, is there any way to create a bigger distraction? Before the AI could answer, the hangar doors opened. A large group of warriors entered, led by an alien with elaborate metal decorations. From the way the others deferred to him, Taeho guessed this must be Commander Ket, Rak's second in command. Ket gave orders in harsh clicks. The warriors spread out, searching the hangar methodically. They know I'm here, Taeho whispered. The false alert didn't work. Correct, Minseo replied. Commander Ket appears to have overridden the alert. Taeho looked at the shuttles, then at the warriors getting closer to his hiding spot. He couldn't reach a shuttle, and he couldn't escape back the way he came. Then he remembered the power core. He had already set up the overload. He could trigger it now, destroying the ship. He might die, but so would the aliens planning to attack New Eden. As Taeho reached for Minseo to send the activation signal, a warrior looked behind the cargo container. Their eyes met. The alien let out a loud call. Suddenly, Taeho was surrounded by warriors, their weapons pointed at him. Commander Ket pushed through the circle, staring down at the human with cold eyes. The last free human. Minseo translated Ket's clicks. Commander Rak wishes to see you before your processing. 2 warriors grabbed Taeho's arms. They took Minseo from him, but didn't seem to realize what the device was. They thought it was just a tool. As they marched him out of the hangar, Taeho felt a strange calm. He had failed to escape, but Minseo still had the activation program for the power core. If he could get her back, he could still complete his mission. Even as they took him to meet Commander Rak, Taeho's mind was working, planning his next move. The battle wasn't over yet. Taeho stood in a large circular room. The walls curved upward to a dome ceiling that showed the stars outside. At the center was a raised platform where a large alien sat on what looked like a throne. This was Commander Rak, leader of the Voidborn fleet. Warriors held Taeho's arms tightly. Commander Ket stood beside him, holding Minseo in one of his 4 hands. Rak was bigger than any alien Taeho had seen before. His gray skin had more intricate patterns, and the metal pieces attached to his body were elaborate and shiny. His eyes, though still just slits, seemed to burn with intelligence. So, Rak's clicks were translated by a device near his throne. This is the human who has caused so much trouble. Such a small, weak creature. Taeho said nothing. He was looking at Minseo, trying to think of a way to get his engineering tool back. Your friend died for nothing, Rak continued. Your crew members have provided useful data. Soon your colony will fall, and we will have all your technology. Taeho looked up at the alien commander. You made a mistake attacking us. Humans aren't weak. Rak made a sound that might have been laughter. Look at you. Soft skin. No natural weapons. 2 arms instead of 4. Physically inferior in every way. Strength isn't everything, Taeho replied. You rely on it too much. That's why your technology is flawed. The alien commander leaned forward. Our technology has conquered 12 star systems. And yet your power core is unstable, Taeho said. Any human engineer would see the flaws. Your containment field is poorly designed. Your energy distribution system is inefficient. Rak's body tensed with anger. You know nothing of our systems. I know enough, Taeho said calmly. I've seen enough. Your technical cast knows I'm right. Mav knew it. At the mention of Mav, Commander Ket made an angry sound. The traitor's name should not be spoken. Rak waved a hand dismissively. The technical cast is weak, like humans. They fear power. They do not understand that strength comes from using power, not containing it. Taeho smiled slightly. That's where you're wrong. Real strength comes from controlling power, from understanding it. Rak stood up. He was at least 8 feet tall. Your words mean nothing. You have failed. Your ship is destroyed. Your friend is dead. You are captured. Soon your colony will be conquered. Not quite, Taeho said. There's something you should know. And what is that, small human? Taeho looked directly into the alien commander's eyes. While I was in your power core section, I set up a feedback loop in the main energy distribution nodes. Right now, energy is building up in 3 key junctions. When I send the activation signal, it will trigger a cascade failure. Your whole ship will explode. The room went silent. Then Rak laughed again. A clever lie. You have no way to send such a signal. No device. That tool your second in command is holding. Taeho nodded toward Minseo. That's not just a repair tool. It's a smart device with an AI assistant. Her name is Minseo, and she's already connected to your ship's systems. Ket looked down at Minseo with sudden concern. You're bluffing, Rak said, but his voice had less confidence. Minseo, Taeho called out. Initiate power core override sequence. Authorization Taeho Kim, engineer first class. Minseo's screen lit up bright blue. Power core override sequence. Initiated, her calm voice announced. Cascade failure will begin in 3 minutes. Alarm sounds blared throughout the ship. Commander Ket dropped Minseo as if it had burned him. The tool clattered to the floor near Taeho's feet. Stop this, Rak roared, standing up. Shut it down. Taeho shook his head. I can't. Once initiated, the sequence can't be stopped. Your power core design doesn't allow for emergency shutdown. Another flaw. The warriors holding Taeho loosened their grip in their panic. Taeho pulled free and dove for Minseo, grabbing the tool from the floor. Security alert, a voice announced. Throughout the ship. Power core reaching critical levels. Containment field failing. Rak pointed at Taeho. Kill him. But the warriors were confused, looking at each other and at their commanders. Some were already backing toward the exits. Commander Ket turned to Rak. We must evacuate to another ship. There's no time. No, Rak shouted. We must stop this human trick. While they argued, Taeho ran for the door. A warrior tried to grab him, but Taeho ducked under his arms and kept running. Minseo, guide me to the hangar bay, he said as he ran down the corridor. Turn left at the next junction, Minseo replied. Time to cascade failure. 2 minutes. 30 seconds. Behind him, Tejo could hear shouting and the sound of running feet. The ship shuddered as power surges began to affect its systems. Lights flickered and doors opened and closed randomly. Tejo followed Minseo's directions, running through the chaos. The aliens were in panic mode now, rushing to escape pods and shuttles. No one tried to stop him as he entered the hangar. Bay. Time to cascade failure. 1 minute 45 seconds, Minseo announced. The hangar was filled with aliens trying to board shuttles. Tejo looked around desperately. Most shuttles were already full or launching. Then he saw it, his original maintenance craft from the horizon, still sitting among the debris where it had been dropped days ago. The aliens had ignored it, thinking it was just junk. Tejo ran to the small craft and climbed inside. The systems were damaged but still functional. He quickly powered up the engines. Time to cascade failure. 1 minute, Minseo said. The maintenance craft lifted shakily off the hangar floor. Tejo piloted it toward the hangar doors, which were open as shuttles streamed out. As he approached the exit, a large shuttle cut in front of him. Through the viewport, Tejo saw Commander Rack. Their eyes met for a brief moment. Rack's face showed rage and disbelief that a small human had defeated him. Tejo maneuvered around the commander's shuttle and flew out into space. His small craft shuddered as he pushed the damaged engines to their limit. Time to cascade failure. 30 seconds, Minseo said. Tejo looked back at the massive alien ship. Shuttles and escape pods were shooting away from it in all directions. Energy arcs were already visible on its surface as the power core became more unstable. 20 seconds. He needed to get farther away. The explosion would be massive. 10 seconds. Tejo pushed the engines to maximum. The maintenance craft groaned in protest. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A blinding flash lit up space. Behind him, the shockwave hit his craft seconds later, sending it tumbling. Tejo held onto the controls, fighting to keep the craft stable. When he finally regained control and looked back, the alien command ship was gone. In its place was an expanding cloud of debris. Many of the shuttles had been caught in the explosion, too. Among the debris, Tejo spotted the distinctive shape of Commander Rack's shuttle, torn in half by the blast. Tejo let out a long breath. He had done it. He had destroyed the enemy ship and killed its commander. The attack on New Eden would not happen now. The rest of the fleet would be confused without their leader. He set a course away from the debris field, hoping to find an Earth Alliance patrol or outpost. Minseo, can you send an emergency signal on Earth Alliance frequencies? Yes, Engineer Kim. Signal broadcasting. Tejo leaned back in his seat, suddenly exhausted. Images of the horizon and its crew filled his mind. Captain Park, Hana, Sunho, Junho, Sujin. All gone. But their deaths had not been in vain. He had made sure of that. As his small craft moved through the stars, a message appeared on his communication screen. An Earth Alliance warship had picked up his signal and was coming to his location. He wasn't meant to survive the attack on the horizon, but he had, and in surviving he had saved countless lives. Tejo Kim, junior engineer, looked out at the stars. He was going home, and he was bringing with him a warning, and the knowledge that humans should never be underestimated. The aliens had learned that lesson. Any others who threatened Earth would learn it too.